Normal people who are familiar with the everyday practices of Hitler's Germany find it hard to comprehend one of its peculiarities. Mass murders and torture were perceived by many as simply tedious, hard, and unpleasant work, similar to a major cleaning job. Nevertheless, there were enthusiasts for this kind of work, most often members of the SS for various reasons, who eagerly turned these tedious duties into enjoyable pastimes. Why Poland? Poland is usually considered the region most affected by Nazism, and there are two main reasons for this. First, Poland was the first country to be conquered by the Nazis through military means, giving them more time to implement their plans and indulge in entertainment. Second, Poland was home to all specialized extermination facilities, and the density of regular concentration camps, where killings were combined with forced labor, was also high. This was highly practical in terms of logistics, as concentration camps, among other things, provided the most opportunities for the sadistic fantasies of the SS. There was an abundance of material, and no one particularly monitored the fate of these individuals. Moreover, the camp personnel was almost exclusively made up of SS members. The SS and intimacy, forced prostitution, and rape were practiced by the Hitlerites in all occupied territories, including Poland. However, this entertainment was not recommended for SS members, as the charter of their organization categorically prohibited relationships with Untermenschen. There was a simple way to enjoy a girl you liked: kill her. But it was more convenient to do it in the concentration camps, and the official Slavic brothels were used more by Wehrmacht soldiers. Nevertheless, young and attractive women were immediately separated into the Canada group upon arrival, becoming personal slaves and intimate servants for the SS guards. Amon Goeth, for example, kept such a group at his villa. When the girls were sent to the gas chamber, similar practices, although less open, existed in other extermination camps as well, where the fate of the prisoners was not tracked. The well-known female guard, Irma Grace, enjoyed women prisoners in an intimate sense. She was a bisexual. Karl Koch was transferred to Poland from Buchenwald, where he became famous, among other things, for his interest in attractive men. In Nazi Germany, there is no reason to believe that his transfer to Poland cured him of this habit. The camps provided other opportunities as well. For example, the guards eagerly examined and touched women who had just arrived at the camp and were forced to undress to change into camp uniforms or to be executed. There is information that in Auschwitz, the guards practiced forced orgies among the prisoners. The SS guards entertained themselves by watching what was happening, and it is clear that they regularly organized something similar, but with the prisoners condemned to death. Orgies were also held. In general, intimacy with Slavs or Jews was available to the SS in the concentration camps, but in other cases, caution was necessary, as someone might report it to the authorities. The SS as executioners. The Hitlerites treated torture and humiliation with complete calmness, but in a significant number of cases, they did it for a utilitarian purpose, to obtain necessary information or to intimidate people and break their will to resist. However, the privileged position of the SS, especially the guards in concentration camps, allowed them to indulge their unhealthy inclinations. No one was bothered if doomed people were destroyed with particular cruelty or subjected to humiliations that had no practical significance for breaking their will. Sometimes very sophisticated methods were invented. For example, in the camps, they deliberately arranged an insufficient number of toilets so that standing in line for them would humiliate the prisoners and make them hate each other. Any little thing could become torture. For example, the prisoners of Auschwitz and a number of other camps were pedantically forced to make their beds in a strictly defined way, and they were punished for the slightest inaccuracy in this procedure. Sisyphus's work was widely used, forcing people to spend hours moving stones from one place to another, or for example, loading sand into a machine by the handful, and much more. Since the specific methods of punishment for prisoners' offenses were not specified, for example, hanging by the rib on a rack was a common occurrence, and Alice Orlowski of Auschwitz loved to beat women prisoners with a whip on the face. Louisa Dan of Auschwitz did not issue the meager rations due to the prisoners for 3 days and took away their winter clothes. Hermine Braunstein of Majdanek had the nickname Stomping Mare because she loved to stomp women to death with her feet. Irma Grace loved to poison Auschwitz prisoners with dogs. It seemed funny to her to tightly tie a woman's legs during childbirth and see what would happen. Amon Gott, who worked in a number of camps and ghettos in Poland, also loved dogs. Despite the fact that this SS man held a rather high position, he did not disdain to participate in the ghetto administration's accounting for the consumables necessary for the murder of Jews. This individual is very successfully portrayed in the film Schindler's List, according to a surviving victim. A young prisoner of Majdanek testified that Jewish children of preschool age were thrown alive into the crematorium, although there was no objective necessity for this. They could have at least been gassed with their mothers. Kurt Franz, one of the commandants of Treblinka, not only poisoned prisoners with a dog, but also beat them personally with a whip and shot them. He especially liked and was good at beating people with his fists. For a long time in Auschwitz, standing cells were used, boxes in which a person could neither lie down nor sit. The guards could keep people there for several days as punishment or for fun. Here, officers also killed sick prisoners by pushing them into the ovens. Old or sick women were forced to dance for many hours under the threat of immediate destruction, proving that they were still young and strong and could work. The prisoners of war who were delivered en masse to Poland at the beginning of the Great Patriotic War experienced much of what has been listed, but not all of it was mandatory. Simply among the SS, there were people who loved their work. And here's something else. Even before the war, Arthur Liebe Henschel, the future commandant of Auschwitz, who was considered soft, working in the concentration camp administration, issued an order. SS men awarded the Cross for War, merit for participating in executions, should call their activity not executions, but the fulfillment of important tasks for military operations. You can just have fun. The SS men from the concentration camps also demonstrated considerable ingenuity in inventing and organizing various games with the participation of prisoners or simply the disabled. Such a practice existed not only in Poland, but in Poland. There were the most opportunities for its flourishing, and the victims could be Jews, Russians, Ukrainians, French, anyone. The SS men of Auschwitz loved the following. They threw a prisoner's cap beyond the high-voltage wires and ordered him to get it. If he stood up, he was shot, but in principle, the prisoner could also die from an electric shock. In the same camp, and in Majdanek, there was also an orchestra of prisoners. The benefits are obvious. No screams are heard and culture is present. The orchestra played 15 to 18 hours a day. Jews from the camps and ghettos were forced to sing a cheerful song while working. Irma Grace, and not only she, loved Russian roulette. In her performance, it looked like a long choice of a pistol barrel aimed at a column of women prisoners. For other guards, this could be a lottery in which the loser was whipped or punched. Otto Moll put several pregnant women around a fire where bodies were burned and shot them in the stomach. The game was called Guess Yourself. The executioner and his colleagues bet on how many of the wounded would fall into the fire and burn, and how many would fall to the side and die from the wound. In Poland, it was customary to turn the capture of escaped prisoners into a kind of sport, organizing real hunting. For example, they hunted down the escaped participants of the legendary uprising in the cathedral. Children in the camps were given candy when they were photographed, and without it, but a quick death awaited everyone. Kurt Franz lovingly compiled a photo album, The Beautiful Times, about the life of Treblinka. He lived to be 84 years old and had enough time to admire these photos. Many participants in such entertainment received life sentences, but were released after 7 to 10 years.